Welcome back for Game 6. KT Rolster and Edward Gaming have dominated the opposition so far, and now they get ready to clash on the Rift in the final game of the first round robin. Again, both teams undefeated, an entirely undefeated region in the LPL, and KT, the hope for Korea.
Yeah, I think KT is what everyone's holding on to as the last bastion, and that actually, I feel like, puts a lot of pressure on KT coming from their Korean fans, that this is the team that they're really looking for and pinning everything on, and they're going up against EDG, who is not even the kind of favorite amongst the Chinese fans, and so this is a game where if you drop that, you have basically completely let your region down for the group stage thus far.
And I just think it's crazy that we're in a position where we're saying, like, not even, 1 week into the event, there's one hope for Korea. It's always, it's always the Western regions that have had those struggles, and Korea has been such a juggernaut for so many years, so dominant. You're just, you almost take it as a given that their teams will be topping their groups.
It's just so crazy to me when I look at KT Rolster versus Edward Gaming. A lot of people are looking at, like, the IG versus Fnatic, these other big hype matchups, and I'm like, this has so much meat to it from a history perspective. This is an odyssey. Like, the legacy that it took for these moments to clash, not only is it Deft versus his former team, but it's also Clearlove starting, and it's Clearlove versus Score. Clearlove himself is probably the most accomplished jungler in League of Legends. This guy has so many titles, but has never made it count on the international stage, whereas Score, never picking up the LCK championship until this very split, and they're some of the oldest players around League of Legends to now go toe-to-toe. This is like, you couldn't script this better.
Yeah, without a doubt, both players have something to prove. Along with that comes topping the group at the end of the first round robin if you pick up this win today.
Yeah, it certainly does. I mean, I think so many people always looked at Score as like the best guy to never do it, right? And he's always been this player that when you ask junglers, who do you think is the best jungler? Who is the guy that you always look to? Almost everyone always talks to Score because he kind of has, this untouchable aura. He's been such an incredible individual player, but it's going to be great to see these two legends duking it out.
And it's a little scary for KT fans because the thing is never hype KT, and then they're forced into this situation.
You have to now.
After winning LCK, coming in and being the only team performing at the level you're expected to, now everyone has to actually hype him up.
And there's another record that's on the line here. The LCK were the only region to go 9-0 before. If EDG win this game, they tie the LCK's record. And again, it's about just scraping in, one extra tally over the LCK.
Right, they can push it even farther
whenever
with
you get the chance.
Game. Who knows? Where does this match hinge? Because it is star-studded lineups, as we already mentioned, Clearlove, Score, and many other names for both of these rosters. So where do we look? Where should my eyes go at the outset of this game?
Now, I know that I did just hype up Clearlove versus Score, the legacy, the narrative. Ultimately, though, Score's the better jungler right now. Don't get me wrong. Clearlove has not been playing for most of the split. Some of the games that we've seen on him, in fact, I'm going to say all of the games that we've seen on him at the World Championship so far have been very suspect, whereas Score has looked incredible. And again, it's not that flashy, ganking every lane, picking up all these kills that's really easy to recognize. It's more of the pressure and cerebral game that Score is able to play to unlock his superstar laners.
And for EDG, it feels like so much comes through Scout in the mid lane, and that can be a little tough against Ucal, who came in to become the rock that, Pawn was never able to be for this super team, and he was always so volatile, and it kind of blew their plans apart. Now that Ucal has become such a stud in the mid lane, it does feel like that makes it more difficult for Rookie Scout, who has to take over so many of these games.
And I just think anytime you're looking at KT, when you're trying to match up, okay, well, where's the advantage against them on an individual basis? All 5 of these guys were in World's Top 20, right? And it's because they're so incredible individually. So I think EDG has to less look about, individual outplays and individual kind of 1v1 advantages and more about playing better as a team, working better towards a win condition, and getting a really strong draft.
The top spot in Group C is on the line in this game with Quick Shot, Papa Smithy, and Kobe taking you through the action.
Thank you very much, Dash. KT Rolster taking on Edward Gaming. For the top spot, as you said, both teams 2-0. There is a lot of stories and a lot of interesting player narrative to unpack. But I want to ask, Papa Smithy, KT Rolster, the last Korean hope. How would you respond to such a brazen statement?
We haven't even finished the first round robin of group stage yet. You got to have something to hold on to, guys. You got to have something to get excited about. And while KT was cautious optimism before, maybe the jinx is gone. They won that LCK title that eluded Score for 16 domestic seasons. For this matchup, though, it's the storylines. It's the fact that when I was first coming into casting, I was casting the LPL, and EDG with Clearlove and Deft on the same roster would always play together. I remember fondly. Clearlove was Nunu, pressing that blood boil as hard as he could on Deft's jinx, and the result was victory, victory, victory. on the domestic and, of course, the international stage at MSI 2015. However, this was 3.5 years ago. Now they finally meet for the first time since Deft left China to put together this super team with Mata and the rest of KT. And that's just the start of some of the cool stories between these two teams.
As big a fan of as I am of history and a well-versed recount there, Papa Smithy, I like to live in the present.
Okay.
And in the present, I actually prefer RO4 EDG over Clearlove because he gives them more early game, more action where I think that they could go toe-to-toe with KT Rolster. Whereas, yes, you know, you can make the veteran point for Clearlove, and we'll see how his actual individual play does stack up early on. But that's where I'm looking at KT Rolster for same old, you know, win some lanes, have score, dominate in the jungle. And I think that they're huge favorites here coming in.
So, Kobe, I'm going to put you on the spot because you're in a line that just stuck out. You prefer them with Haro to go toe-to-toe. How big of a mismatch, in your opinion, is EDG against KT with Clearlove? Because the feeling and the instinct is obviously the KT are the favorites to win, but I want to know how much.
So I think it's a fairly significant amount because I feel like KT are going to have more options unless EDG decide to let Ray wield the sword that he says he still has in his hand. So much of Ray coming back to EDG has been him, you know, trying out the carry top laners, but then shying back away and them having a lot more success with him on the tanks, you know, playing front to back, playing around their bottom lane, and that has been the recipe. I think that KT Rolster has seen so many teams with the same recipe that they'll be ready coming in.
And I'm a huge fan of this analogy of the sword, the carry top lane, and the shield, and what weapons are you bringing. I feel like the only player in history to be as equally good with 2 swords and 2 shields is Smeb. This is the guy.
He's got 4 hands.
I know, it's pretty amazing.
He's Goro.
But he can situationally play the carries, but also be a reliable teleport Maokai player, and being able to do both, which I feel like no player has ever been able to do over one season, maybe over a long career you can evolve. He can do both at the best of times, and Ray is still leveling up to be able to be that flexible top laner.
Well, I'm very excited to see how it pans out, more specifically what champions will be played. Ray's got 2 Ornn games under his belt, Smeb, the Irelia, and the Aatrox. And just before we get into picks and bans, there is a small delay on stage. So one of the players is just resolving a connection issue with the monitor. So while they work through that, I want you guys to now tunnel your vision into the draft. And I'm going to start with Papa Smithy. What direction do you think KT or EDG will take to counter one another or set themselves up for success?
I think the big question mark to me is the mid lane, because both these mid laners are in super impressive form. However, one of them has last pick. That is the red side. That is Edward Gaming. If Scout goes for a counter pick, we then ask the question, in a worlds where what do you pick blind in the mid lane has not had a definitive answer, will we see KT Rolster take away a champion Scout was a highlight reel on? Because if I've seen a great Azir recently, it's not just Scout, it's Ucal domestically in Korea as well.
I am definitely right there with you, hoping for you know, some more levels to the mid lane pick and ban coming through. But I do think we're gonna have to wait a bit further in the pick ban phase to actually see that, because so much of that is about, you know, like 3rd pick red side, landing the 2 bans, or, you know, holding through these counter picks with all the flexes available. Right now, I still don't see an Urgot or an Aatrox or a Xayah, so those look like they're going to be the things traded here. Alistar and Rakan are also on the table, and that's kind of the top tier that we've seen at Worlds so
and
far.
Smeb's happy to take the Urgot or the Aatrox, but what I want to draw your attention to is that Lucian was actually banned by KT Rolster. This has been a favorite of specifically Jackie Love on Invictus Gaming, but iBoy has played it as well. Lane dominant AD carry, one of the strongest laners available. Xayah left open over some other picks. Urgot was not first picked by KT Rolster.
Exactly. Aatrox banned, Urgot does not get picked. Still, they lock in instantly the Akali.
Oh-ho!
Now this, it is laying the groundwork for a possible exciting assassin matchup in the mid lane with Scout, but it could also be transferred up to the top side for Ray. We've seen variations with Grasp of the Undying in the top lane, and that might be something to give them more options later on.
Now, if we do see a Tristana draft here, that means Xayah Rakan go ahead is what Edward Gaming is going to be opting into, or at least going to have on the table. We'll see what happens here, because the Urgot has been left open for 2 rounds I was wondering about the flex pick potential of Akali because they have the last pick on red side. However, we've seen the Urgot Akali matchup already, and the FLICKR Freaks would not want to return to that one. So that does kind of pigeonhole, to me, the Akali to mid.
No matter how much finesse you bring to a matchup against Urgot, it just seems like it's all in vain, right? As much as you can dance around and go for these big trades, unless there is a lot of extra help, the Urgot seems to stand strong each time. Here we go, that we need to catch up because the Alistar, another critical pick, and one that Meiko and Mata are both famous for, picked up here for KT Rolster before the second round of bans come through, even with the possibility of the Lovers duo. They would rather have the tankiness of Alistar's ultimate and the survivability after going in than the lightning quick long-range engage from Rakan.
And the word engage, I think, is the prime thing to talk about here, because Tristana Rakan is not necessarily a power lane by any means. You look at what they have already, Akali, Tristana. Yes, Akali can go in, but she's no initiator. This actually frees them up to really focus on a counter pick for lane, rather than also having to have the Twin Demon up, but wait, how does it work in the 5v5? Because they at least have one true engage choice on their side.
We're entering phase 2, gentlemen, and we'll get a little bit more clarity on those solo laners and whether or not this Akali will be brazen enough to go into Urgot. The bans Kindred and Shen taken off the table. And for Edward Gaming, still fighting the upward battle. This is the team that has to prove they can go toe-to-toe with KT Rolster. KT Rolster is one of the World Championship finalist favorites.
And if you go down the champion select so far, just with 3 champions each, already I feel like Edward Gaming are upping the difficulty. It's going to be so much more difficult for them to execute. Yes, Rakan, very quick engages and can get the charm and knockups, but into Urgot, Xayah, and Alistar, those are all very, very difficult champions to actually engage on. And then 2 of them are still extremely tanky. Xayah can self-peel, so it really does mean that Meiko's got his work cut out for him, and they're going to need more emphasis in this area if they want to pull it off, whereas KT Rolster seems a lot easier to pull this off.
Only main stage jungler we've seen so far from Clearlove has been the Nocturne. He'll return there, but again, it's not really a comp you're looking at on the blue side that involves backline threat. And they actually reinforce it with a second round mid-jungle duo that wants to do some invading onto the farming Nocturne as early as possible.
All right, we are going to once again see the Nocturne versus Galio matchup, though. So remember, when Nocturne Ultimate is on, you cannot use your Galio Ultimate unless you're right next to someone that you can actually see with your own eyes and click on them. I saw a lot of rumors going around on social media and stuff about clicking on the portraits. That does not work.
Nope.
Unless you're actually standing next to them. So a little Mythbusters preview here. Azir now locked in, though, and that is kind of one of the ones you mentioned for Scout, Papa Smithy.
It's definitely one of his power picks. A good scaling matchup into Galio. Think of the Lucian versus Galio matchups we've seen many times. He wants to farm it out, but you can see so clearly that KT Rolster on the front foot with this draft. They are ready to go as early as possible. The Xayah for score is a bit of a different look, but it fits in with his famous Kindred, the Talia. He wants to play the tempo game, and he wants to make sure the game might be decided before Clearlove even can use that paranoia.
Well, we'll keep our eyes on how quickly Edward Gaming can get to that power state. Akali, Azir, Nocturne, they need a little bit of time. But if they manage to make it through the early game, that power combination with the Rakan engage to back it up and resets from Tristana looks terrifying in the mid to late game. We've already seen Scout unleash Azir on the world stage. He's going to have another chance against KT Rolster, Kobe.
It's going to be difficult, but we'll see if they have what it takes. This is for first place in the group. Coming out in ahead here would be 3-0, stacked very well going into the second round robin. And you want that first seed because that means you can avoid RNG for as long as possible.
And you got to zoom it out. This is for the 9-0 for the LPL. And when it's come to LPL versus LCK for the better part of a year, it has always been the LPL pushing past Korea.
Can the LPL equal the undefeated 9-0 record that was set by the LCK? It's KT Rolster taking on Edward Gaming, and you can hear the fans cheering and chanting from Busan as they get behind KT Rolster.
4 days into the World Championships, it already sounds like a finals atmosphere in Bexco and Busan.
And especially that this is the last game of the first round robin. from here on out, we will only play one group per day. And the last time that we will see these guys will be on Tuesday next week. So let's see who goes into the second stage of the round robin with an undefeated record of 3-0. Let's see whether or not KT Rolster, with strong lanes, with Score leading from the front on the Zhao, can take over the game and keep Akali and Azir and Tristana down.
So we do end up with this return of the Akali versus Urgot top lane matchup. If you remember, FLICKR Freaks had a strong wave clear comp and then Akali into Urgot. And we wondered, I sat there wondering, is there an item point, well, an amazing snowball in the early game where Akali just naturally wins and you can have 4 members of EDG wave clearing and Akali winning the game? The answer appeared to be no with how tanky Urgot got. So I look at the side of EDG and think, maybe it has to be team fights only from them to win this game.
All right, Mata's going to jump onto iBoy. Manages to get the headbutt, some good trading back and forth, but it's only level 1. So you're reliant on just those autos. Now the attention gets turned to Deft. I think aggregate HP comes out maybe a little in KT favor, but it's fairly even there.
Oh, there is blood in the water on the bottom side of the map, my friends, and this could easily attract jungler attention. Red buff has been picked up for Score on the Zhao, who's going through the river at the Scuttle Crab right now, and KT Rolster are trying to get that lane pushing ahead. Nocturne as well to the same side of the map.
This isn't a replay, this is the same headbutt again going forward. Mata, though, takes a lot of damage, forced to flash, actually punished for his step forward.
Game of Chicken is being won by iBoy and Meiko. We already talked about Clearlove and Deft. Meiko also was the support of Deft over in China. We've got junglers joining.
There is a flash available for iBoy, but he needs to use it quickly. The dash forward, first blood to KT Rolster.
It's just so clear as this bottom lane trades over and over and over so aggressively. You have to know junglers are on the way. That's exactly what they look for on the minimap, and well set up there by KT Rolster. Score heads down. He's able to get off the auto as the flash goes off too. So iBoy now summonerless and is going to miss out on this CS.
Both bot lanes have been puffing out their chests to the point where we haven't even seen another lane. You wonder when to flash as iBoy. He chooses as the audacious charge, which has a guaranteed hit, is in the air. Score doesn't even have to flash. It's a freebie for KT Rolster.
Busan is electric as KT Rolster have the 500 gold lead, and Score will be looking to punish that bottom lane even more. iBoy and Meiko, they just got baited into that fight over and over. And you can see their group stage statistics thus far. 23% damage percentage for Deft, 35 for iBoy. Remember that KT Rolster have run more carries in that top lane than tanks.
Yeah, you definitely have to get out of there earlier, because the way that auto attacks work in this game for melees, as soon as he's into melee range and starts the auto attack, the only way to break it would be by flashing out of vision of that champion. So it does complete, he gets the kill, no flash, and now Score with the run of the map. First blood on a Zhao. He's completed his challenging Smite. And this is one of the champions that has incredible dueling power.
Absolutely, and it's a champion that might be looking topside, because if there is going to be a window where the Akali can do well, and notice it is Comet Akali for even more trading potential, you have to remember that Urgot kind of honor bound into the Black Cleaver first, so he's not going to be building magic resist till later in the lane. That reality means that if you want to get susceptible onto the Urgot and start the snowball, it needs to be early.
Well, no movement there just yet. We caught a glimpse in the mid lane as Scout had been pushing into Ucal and Azir into Galio matchup, and taking a look at Ray, put that ward just in the middle of that top bush, and the wave crashing in towards him. Neither junglers around, so not looking for any more shenanigans just yet. And EDG to bounce back from that early play that has set KT up so well.
Meanwhile, Ucal here, he's using his health to try and push up the minion wave by walking in. He's taking a lot of damage, has to chug through his potions, but looks like Score will chase Clearlove out of the river and defend that ward. Even though the Squire's Bloom found it, he won't be able to go over and finish the autos.
Ucal does hit onto Meiko, but not going to be big. Clearlove is being forced into not being able to look for camps. For his benefit, nothing is up right now, so he does have the time to poke around and control vision as much as possible. He doesn't want to be responding to ganks this early, but he has no other option.
Teleport used here by Ucal after he chugged through all of his potions in lane. He's able to get some magic resist for himself in the refillable, so he can continue the same strategy. You just want to AoE the wave, move up with Galio, and then support your jungler. This Galio from the mid lane is so great because the ultimate can reach very deep into both sides of the jungle, whichever one Score wants to invade on and use his kill to their advantage.
I've always talked about Twisted Fate and Galio as that extra summoner spell for an invading jungler because you will get mid lane rotation first, and that empowers you on a Zhao with a one-way hit to be able to go in aggressively and know you're trading up.
One of the best feelings ever as the jungler when your team has your back. Meanwhile, on the top side, Ray and this Akali that we are looking for, making some moves. Ucal, though, protecting top side for a while.
Looking at opportunities, seeing whether or not there was the availability to go in, can also steal away some jungle camps. And this is a great start for KT. Score, we caught a glimpse of him killing those wards earlier. His Scryer's Bloom spotted EDG's wards. He was able to clear out the control ward as well. Unlike Clearlove, who had to invest that extra gold, Meiko does not get the knockup, and iBoy comes away way worse for wear in that trade.
Honestly, Mata just running circles around these guys thus far, but now it might change. We have Score slipping into the brush on the side lane. We'll see if iBoy and Meiko step out.
Ucal's walked up just to get the honey fruit. Who is pinching who? As for now, he's getting poked out a little bit.
You just feel the tension building. Who is baiting whom? In the early stages, EDG got baited. Score is very, very patient. He snuck his way up into that second bush in the bottom lane, but has completed the recall, or will do so in a moment or two. Full channel, and EDG, they were anticipating some sort of play. They were responding thanks to some vision, but KT decided to back off for now.
In preparation for these team fights, remember too that once Nocturne turns off the lights, Ucal will have to wait for that to go before he can actually use the Galio ultimate. The whole team should keep this in mind. The timing windows are very important, but as long as they plan for it, they should be able to execute.
And also, you know, if you're going to be the aggressor, if you're going in proactively with the Galio, then it's not going to be as relevant, right? Then you will be able to use it before the paranoia comes in. So it's all about KT getting the vision advantage and setting the tempo of the game rather than being able to respond to it with the Galio.
Yeah, oftentimes you want to see the Nocturne ulting extremely early. So there's a lot of control in the veteran Clearlove's hands here. You know, he's been subbed into this game, even with a bit more shaky of a summer going for himself. He's now level 6 on the Nocturne and should be able to actually buy most of his jungle item as soon as he goes back. Right now he's hesitating on top side though. I think Urgot is just too difficult of a target right now.
Yeah, not going to be able to do so. As Ray's just sitting on that Vamp Scepter as well. Smeb will be sticking around in lane. I keep my eyes on Score. Once again, hovering around the bottom quadrant, the bottom lane in that tri-bush. iBoy steps forward for the trade, and look at the minion wave. So there's a lot to lose if this goes wrong for Meiko and iBoy.
See if Score actually comes into vision, still not spotted by this control ward.
Just keep waiting for the engage. Score's got access to that ultimate as well. A lot of vision from EDG in the river, but it's come not in that tri-bush area, and Mata will be clearing out this control ward.
I feel like Mata has easily won the psychological warfare game now. Whenever he steps up on Alistar, Meiko and iBoy have to respect it. They've been punished too many times already, and Score has been so willing to camp on the bottom side that they have to give up and cede small advantages now whenever the positioning is there.
It's a 15 CS disadvantage to iBoy in the bottom lane, thanks to that first blood play from earlier, as well as the psychological plays that you talked about. Scout does a pretty good job there of getting out of range of Ucal, and Clearlove is still waiting to respond. It feels like he's on counter gank duty, and he may be called into support right now. Very good buffer from iBoy as here comes Ucal. The tower is the focus, and a teleport's being channeled. Paranoia comes in, insta-taunts onto Clearlove. He's going to continue looking for the chase, stepping on the Dustbringer. Feathers fly from Deft, but here comes Meiko. Already used a flash, and he's not dead yet. Gets a follow-up knockup. Meiko survives long enough to give EDG a chance, but it simply is not enough. There's not enough follow-up.
Huge overstep there from EDG. We see Deft lay the groundwork, putting all the feathers in the ground as he's running away, just waiting for the juicy blade caller, and he finds it.
The proactive blade caller allowed him to flashback and basically have such a big width of targets to be stunned so they could turn onto one. Meiko too far down the lane. This was the proactive ult we called for, but it didn't find any members, and you did wonder about the EDG re-engage.
Exactly, they used it early because they didn't want to get blocked out from the Nocturne, but then on the re-engage here, EDG are just grasping at straws. They see this Deft ult go down, they think that he is without defenses, but he still has the perfect blade color on the two squishy members right in a single line.
He actually hit both members of the bot lane and Clearlove with one blade caller, meant that they couldn't join with any damage, and it meant that Meiko was a lamb to the slaughter.
Big part of the counterplay of Xayah is seeing the feathers on the ground and being able to work out that trajectory of a straight line. Here we go, though. They're right back at it, looking for dive number 2.
Oh, this is going to be so difficult to get out of. There's no flash for Meiko. There's 5 members of KT Rolster. They're looking for 2. iBoy uses the Buster Shot, but it doesn't get him anywhere. Score gets another. Meiko will at least trade with Mata under the tower, but it's a 2-for-1, and tower first blood. Busan is tearing the roof off.
And it's the proactive KT gameplay that separates them from the other LCK teams. They are going to give up the Rift Herald, at least the start of the Rift Herald, most likely for the play they've made, but they invest their entire team, and they pick up the kills and the turret.
KT Rolster, a team designed to win Worlds. They failed last year for even qualifying, but are looking to make up for it and then some this year.
I did wonder if this will be the game where we got to see the evolution of KT, because they were always a team that could play this way. We all watched on, whether you're an NA caster, EU caster, Korean caster, of the Telecom Wars last year and were rewarded with many high-level games, but they always ran out of steam. The late game was not somewhere they could excel. They didn't draft for it, they couldn't play it, but this year in the second round robin, they've evolved past and have been able to make some huge comebacks, maybe none necessary in the first 2 games, and with a lead like this, maybe none necessary today.
And look at the team play. This is Smeb coming down on the Urgot, trying to really just pry open this area of weakness for EDG. They throw members at this area. 5 again from KT Rolster, finding success down there. They also get the first turret bonus gold. They open up the map, and this is going to be very difficult for EDG to fight for an opening.
Especially when you consider the item disparity in the AD carry role. You can see iBoy on your screen got himself 2 long swords and attack speed dagger versus Ninja Tabai as well as the Storm Razor for Deft.
And you think about how team fights will play out from an EDG perspective in an ideal way. It's going to be Akali, Nocturne, Rakan diving, and then basically the Tristana and Azir playing together and the peel being available with the Emperor's Divide. However, you need your front line to have threat and not just be blown up, and you need your back line to be doing big damage to be able to fight on 2 separate fronts, and they are now multiple items away from that sort of game state against a very tanky front line of KT.
We were already discussing, Papa Smithy, the difficulty of the composition that EDG have drafted for themselves in Champ Select. And now that they're at this goal deficit, it just becomes so much more of an obstacle because they have no, healthy member to work with. They just have to work around the short timing of their crowd control, and that is going to have to be on isolated members.
There's one tiny advantage that EG can tweak in the next few minutes. They've got that Rift Herald sitting in Clearlove's inventory. They can try to use that to unlock a tower and get something back, but they are in a 2.5, nearly 3,000 gold deficit, so they need several of those plays.
It finally brings KT to EDG rather than what's happened so far, which has been KT controlling the pace of the game. So we'll see if it can be used intelligently or if it's going to be forced out from the Nocturne, because you usually want to have some deep vision, some guarantees you'll both get the channel off but also get the turret. We see Clearlove deep, his ultimate is available, but now at least Galio is in ult range himself.
Yeah, Galio shoving out that bottom lane. Ucal returning to mid for a potential, siege, potential poke down. But it doesn't happen from EDG. Instead, KT now may be able to dive raid.
There's no wards on the map from EDG at all. If you look at the map here, it's actually pretty barren. They don't control anywhere on the map, and this makes these sort of moves so tricky.
Exactly. They have no safe path, so it means they have to take a longer time to route all the way by their base to try and defend topside.
They just can't go there. They have 1 trinket ward, nothing else, and they have to pay respect to the gold lead of KT.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the inventory as well. No control wards yet. Very limited defensive vision from EDG. You need to see that improve as 15 minutes will crest shortly, and KT will take their second tower.
Looks like complete domination thus far. iBoy is going to be forced to jump out with half of his HP. And again, the only window that EDG can open up in this game is the small timing of a Rakan engage covered by the Nocturne darkness. that is a very small window to work with. And already KT are just pushing ahead and not even giving them any area to work.
This is Mada with his pure mind games. We remember that famous interview from Doublelift, how dare he walk up to me at Worlds a couple of years ago. These EDG players will remember Mada very well as well. He had his tenure over on RNG, Vici, over in the LCK. Rift Herald's popped, but it's a deep one. Very unlikely to find much of a charge.
And Mata's looking for a return to grandeur and form. He gets jumped on by Ray for now. The Rift Herald was used. He gets a bit of a boop into the mid tower, but there's the paranoia as Ucal's forced to join the fight with the ultimate. EDG need this to go well. They need to get the kills, but it's not happening yet. Ray's hiding in the shroud for now. They are unable to find a key target, but they don't lose anything either.
Yeah, strong actually fight here from EDG. They gain the health bar advantages. It's going to be difficult for them to actually get an objective afterwards, but that was promising as far as being able to pull out the Galio ultimate, kite back, and then go for re-engage.
And it buys you time that didn't seem like it was going to be available. If you compare how KT have accelerated their lead compared to, say, TL, who was an advantage in the previous game, you're seeing very high-tempo plays like the Mada threatened from the mid lane turret. So Mada's failed headbutt pulverized, blowing ultimates and flashes, does mean EG have relative safety, and it's not like their two carry solo lanes are having any trouble. They are putting together very impressive CS numbers.
I think that's really important. We've spent so much time looking at the bottom lane and the discrepancies in the 2v2 thanks to the gameplay decisions. But Ray and Scout are ahead in CS. They've got their first big ticket items completed, and you could see the impact that Akali and Azir had in the mid game. But it's going to be on those two to help usher iBoy into the mid game, because he's only just completed his Stormrazor. He's going to be behind an upgraded Zeal item very, very soon, as Deft is getting close to doing so. EDG still find themselves 3k gold down. Ray is the target of 4 members of pressure in this bottom lane by KT. They've got a minion wave to work with, and he may have to concede some tower HP.
Yeah, I think a trade is probably the best thing that EDG could hope for. Is they're trying to push mid lane a little bit while KT are finishing up the turret.
It's so difficult. Urgot, Xin, and Xayah on a tower will obliterate it. But fortunately for the side of EDG, Scouts and iBoy will do some work about Azir and Tristana. All right, the base is being opened. 17 minutes in, KT Rolster. They're going to clear out the minion wave. They've got a couple of cannon creeps or minion creeps to work with. They open the base at 17.5 minutes, and the tempo is not slowing down.
Look at the cooldown on Nocturne ultimate. It looks like they want to make this the chase. It's so difficult, though. Ucal does have teleport. He could arrive with the rest of the team, and with that, KT Rolster actually find them in the river. Here we go.
It just feels like we're on a knife's edge this entire game. Every single moment, these two teams come head-to-head. There is a potential for an explosive engage. Mountain Drake has been started by KT Rolster and EDG. They may not be willing to concede. Paranoia is available as the teleport's being channeled by Ucal. Oh. It's stolen! Clearlove picks it up, but can they get out? That's the question. Emperor's Divide will split up the team, and EDG sneak the objective.
What a pick there! Here we go!
Look at the knockout! There comes Mata! The Emperor's Divide's already been used, but that's a great disengage. Buster shot from iBoy and a defensive Paranoia.
That was so important that iBoy got multiple members because the first target was in melee range of the other ones. Pushes them away. KT find no extra objective, and they forced to back away, not being able to grow the lead that they could 10 minutes ago.
Considering the deficit EDG are at, really exceptional disengage as well as steal on the objective there for themselves. Probably the best they could have hoped for in this situation, so they count that one a victory.
Can't believe I find myself thinking EDG could stall this game out. After how it started, it looked to be done and dusted for KT Rolster, but the last few minutes, EDG have shown, despite the gold discrepancy, they can utilize their kit and their composition to make sure they survive.
The teamfight executions are still going to be very tricky from an EDG perspective. They have dive, but the only CC dives are Rakan and Azir, probably having to give up his life to make the sort of big plays that was bread and butter a couple of days ago for Scout. Reason why I say that is, you're not scooping up squishies, you're scooping up engaged tanks like Urgot, Galio, and Alistar. If you go for a streamer shuffle play, very unlikely to find Deft unless the Feather Storm is on cooldown.
We said it would be very difficult to execute for EDG, so credit definitely given as far as the execution on the disengage, but they have to continue to perform at this level.
The map state is a lot more healthy for EDG. No longer is there no defensive vision on their side. They are able to have a lot of coverage for specifically Ray on the Akali and the bot lane, and starting to wrestle back some of their red side jungle as well. KT pushing up all the lanes, looking for their next moment. A lot of cooldowns available on both sides.
And of course, we're 20 minutes into the game, so Baron is now up. With the Galio and Alistar and all the damage behind them, KT can play the Baron bait as and when they want to. A lot of damage coming down from those Sand Soldiers already. Couple of autos chunking through Mata and Score. But look, KT pushing the wards into the North Quadrant, pushing into EDG territory, so we can start this Baron down.
Also pushing the minion waves up to the turret here. Ucal has gotten the wave. Mata actually Hextech Flash.
All right, Ray gets caught out. Headbutt Pulve as well. Chunked to 50% HP. Gonna dash over the wall. And he's got teleport available to him, so he can recall and join a fight. But look, the tempo and the control and the pace is all with KT Rolster.
And it's all about that passage from top to mid lane. They get this turret half health as well. And they'll be forced to back away for now. All about the minion waves. To their credit, EDG bot lane is pushed out, so there will not be a 3-lane push.
You can see KT just kind of brute force some damage on the turret there, shoving the wards in. And then on the way out, Ucal uses his taunt to deny a lot of the damage from the Azir, and they're able to get some damage on these turrets. In the end, though, EDG still have life.
Oh, this is a beautiful game to close out the first stage of the round robin. And I keep looking at the vision. KT got a little bit of damage onto those towers, but I think crucially, the ward that Scout just walked over and then 2 control wards, there's already more coverage than maybe KT would have expected. Running into 5 members of EDG, it's going to be up to the LPL representatives to push back, regain control of their own jungle, and try to push those waves back out. Because Papa Smithy, you talked about it. It looked even. And then 30 seconds later, KT said, sorry, buddy, that's not true anymore. And they completely took control.
Such the power of a multi-man invade there, and with Alistar, you're always a bit more brazen about which rushes you can face check and which ones you cannot. Want to draw attention to an item choice here by Scout. He's going Liandry's second, which was buffed in the path to 819, the Worlds patch. He's against some really tanky boys, some thick opponents, so I do like going for the Liandry's here. If he's left unchecked, it's axe up.
All right, Meiko's going to need to dash away to safety. Mata manages to look for the engage and decides to back away. Of course, if Scout can use the Liandry's to just chip away, that's also going to be exceptional value. And once again, we're just dancing on this knife's edge. 23 minutes, these two teams clashing. But EDG are further behind. It's nearly 5,000 as KT extend their lead further.
And the split working there for KT. Whenever they force Scout on the Azir up to a different lane, it means that EDG can't even look for that little quick opening around mid lane. They need the Azir as a core component to their big play. And KT Rolster are just keeping them pressured in.
And Azir is one of those I only do everything champions. He can poke from range, wave clear from range, and threaten engage compared to Tristana, who can only chip away. So now Scout is grouped. Urgot is away from his team, but there's no real engage option just yet. Would be far too brazen from Clearlove. This does mean there's a slight moment for the side of EDG to find some footholds around Baron, as yes, you note their quick shot. It is Ghost Flash onto Urgot. Much more about teamfight mobility than map mobility.
Yeah, gonna need to push the wave and rejoin the KT Rolster squad. It's 30 seconds to the next Infernal Drake. This is the final fight for first in the group, and a reminder, if EDG lose this game, it will be the first LPL loss of the World's Group Stage in 2018.
And I want to talk about one thing that KT know that is implied rather than clear to all the viewers. They would have known that EDG spent all of their time either grouped in mid or trying to get vision around the red side. They know there should be no wards near the Drake. It's an Infernal, a very high value Drake, and there's been no access by the EDG members to be out of vision and actually put down any wards around them.
And I think the Infernal Drake, when you look at the team compositions, even more valuable this game, with 4 damage dealers aside on both compositions. I'd love to see how EDG play around this one. The last Dragon, Clearlove, Smite stole that objective, and Scout and iBoy were able to disengage. I don't know if you can get pixel-perfect execution that many times in a row.
Yeah, plus the risks are so high for EDG to go walking through a blind jungle that it is just not worth it. The big prize, the Baron, is on the table. It is a very realistic prize to go for very quickly, and that's why EDG have to concentrate all of their wards in this area of the map.
Pick your battles is what EDG has been forced into after their mistakes largely around bot lane the early part of this game, but they're starting to pick up some important purchases. Probably going to be double Leandries, as Akali has a Haunting Guise and Azir has his complete. You see itemization like that and just makes the best use of the gold that was gotten, which as we know is 4,500 less than KT had been able to farm up. Now you need to start being a bit more tricky here if you're KT Rolster.
Yeah, and of course, I want to see some tricks being played by Clearlove. 0-0-0 on this Nocturne. The bottom lane has been the focus from KT Rolster. It's accelerated the tempo, and this Nocturne has been near invisible this game. And for Clearlove to be on EDG coming up against Deft and KT Rolster, and all the history of these players, a key paranoia could make or break his team's chances to claw back this deficit.
But the wrong one might end the game. Ghost just popped here by Smeb to cycle through his Unsealed Spellbook. They're pushing in on this inner turret.
They also have a minion wave on the top turret currently, with Galio taking down the secondary turret on top side, just whittling away at it. KT Rolster slowly making ground in two different lanes at the same time.
Minion wave is pretty far away. That's why I see Smeb just pop the Disdain, the W, and tank up the few shots of that inner turret. Still, this game state has stayed pretty static for quite a while here for EDG. They'll take that given how the game started.
And I've got a sneaky feeling that Smeb with teleport on his active summoner spell rotation now will be a bit more bullish in pushing that bottom lane. We'll be able to react and jump into a fight as needed.
Seeing a lot of interesting purchases here. We see actually Xayah goes back to base and only buys a stopwatch, because the next fight probably tells the story of the game. If KT win it decisively, Baron, turrets go down, and might be an unassailable lead. If it's a turnaround from EDG, it's not going to be quite the same. It won't be the converse, but it will be a very important fire back there to actually just find a bit more even nature in this game.
Yeah, I really do love a stopwatch buy here 27 minutes into the game, because it gives KT Rolster more options. Previous to this, it's just about Alistar going in with the Galio ultimate on top of him, whereas Zin's out. Whenever Zin goes in, kind of the combat pattern normally is to ult afterwards, but that knocks people away. You don't want to do that with Galio ultimate, so now he can stopwatch there after going in, and they have multiple ways to try and deliver.
And of course, that's where it's going to matter. You have to find the key target. You have to make that engage work, because EDG have already shown that with the deficit, they can still put up the blows and put up the damage. Plus, they've got the items to back it up. The Leandries was completed by Scout a little while ago. He's already got that Amp Tome and Blasting Wand. Ray's very nearly completing his second tier item. Infinity Edge on the way from iBoy. And KT Rolster, for the third or the fourth or the fifth time, are sieging the inner turret. It feels like they will get it this time around. All outer turrets secured by KT Rolster and the LCK.
They're freshly sharp. They've gone for the playmaking items in the stopwatches. They know they have to make it stand now, because the items are piling up. Just like we talked about in the previous game, when you've been in this bigger lead for this long, you need to turn the game into a different state. They don't spot Clearlove, but it doesn't take a genius to work out where he's at. But we see a big play here.
Oh, trying to find out. That's flash for flash. Martin decides to go in. Clearlove decides to go out. Meiko's trying to find the taunt, but he's already ready for his life. Going gold in the middle of the fight. Disdain catches onto Ray. He runs for his life, but look at the fear beyond death. Clearlove is destroyed by Smeb, and Ray is taking KT Rolster on a wild goose chase before he's cut down by Score.
And that will be KT Rolster taking the Baron afterwards as well. And with that, the push onto EDG's base.
When you need a decisive moment, look no further than Mara. He goes in, and while it doesn't all register at the start, you can hear how loud the crowd are. They know who their best hope is for 2018, and it's KT.
EDG were dancing on the edge of safety, Papa Smithy, and they were punished for it. Mata goes over the wall, sets up the engage for Ucal, and Smeb and Score brought it home.
In this replay, we are going to see the differences in the tankiness and the ease of execution of these compositions. Mata can go in on Alistar with the Galio ultimate, but then Meiko on Rakan tries to engage on Galio. He's so squishy, he has to use the timings and the crowd control to be able to survive one of those team fights. It's not going to happen. So everything on EDG starts to crumble.
Such explosive damage, and all the damage dealers have to kite back. Mata has always lived on the razor's edge between genius and madness. Moments like that show you that his eyes are certainly in this year. They get that Baron that's eluded them for 10 minutes. And now EDG know one more team fight and the Nexus is done.
For a while, I had wondered if Mata's dial had been stuck on madness. Now it is leaning more regularly, more consistently towards genius. And KT Rolster have once again proven you can put your faith in them. But they have let their fans and their supporters down so many times in the past. I don't know if this time is different. This time there's something magical about this team that won the title in LCK and is on the verge of going undefeated in the first round robin.
That was one of their biggest skeptic, but they've definitely been able to do it recently. Speaking of recently, pushing up to the base, Galio on the top side. Clearlove has that ultimate. He can try to make a play, but if it goes wrong, the game is done.
Remember, my friend, that the bottom inhibitor is exposed still due to the very early tower trading that we had in this game. So theoretically, a Baron buff, you just send the bottom lane as your split push. They're not going to do that. They're going straight at these towers, though, and they should fall quickly.
Oh, take a look at that. Mata once again finds the engage. iBoy's the target. The inhibitor turret falls. The inhibitor won't be much longer. Now, Scout has got the Streamer Shuffle available, but how the hell do you make it work with a 12,000 gold deficit? The exposed inhibitor, Kobe, will fall uncontested, unstoppable, improbable. And KT Rolster in absolute control at 31 minutes.
Sort of game where you could end the game as 0-0 and 0 Azir because you never had that moment to look for an aggressive play. It was so easy. It was bread and butter earlier this tournament, but for now, all you can do is watch along as KT take down two inhibitors. They even get an Infernal on the back end, and they're ready for the final push.
This is going to be an easy reset for KT Rolster. They will return to the field, rich in items as well as Infernal Drake buffs, adding another one to the firepower here, and there is only one path left. One inhibitor turret left standing. They can march right out.
I don't know about you guys, but I can feel my heartbeat in my fingertips. And it feels like for 30 minutes of this game, we have been on the edge of something dramatic or something explosive. And this is the first time that KT Rolster have absolute, uncontestable leads, where it feels like EDG need a miracle to bounce back. And as it stands, it was a good attempt, but I'm just amazed at the way in which KT have proactively set themselves up time and time again.
But it's a bit of a sobering reminder that champions like the Akali in particular, now for FLICKR, and now we're seeing it from EDG, can find these spots where the 1v1 against Urgot seems unwinnable. The team fights against a tank lineup and a Xayah sound improbable, and because of that, we're really waiting to see the solo laners who farmed up a plenty find something. Speaking of solo laners.
All right, let's take a look. Scouts has used his ultimate as well as that Sundisk. The Sundisk will help defend a while, but Paranoia's been used defensively once again. Two crucial ultimates if EDG want to win a team fight, if they want to mount some sort of comeback.
Yeah, they're lacking in cooldowns, and they're also lacking in base defenses. Nothing left but the Nexus turrets.
Edward Gaming and the LPL are on the verge of losing their first game here in the group stage. It will be at the hands of KT Rolster. KT Rolster now setting their sights on the Nexus turret as Scorp will be bringing the minion wave through that Sundisk in the bottom lane.
It's going to be one only from the mid lane for now. The sideways will take a while to crash. Will we see a dive attempt?
I'm sure we will. KT Rolster have done it over and over. They've got a significant lead at 11,000, and there's the dive, Papa Smitty. Mata goes in and is shot right back out.
Oh!
Nexus turret goes down, but look at the engage! Ucal finds Edward Gaming, wrecks them where they stand. Only iBoy and Meiko standing. They were the first to fall at the start of the game, the last to fall at the end of the game. And KT Rolster will turn their attention to the Nexus, go undefeated, and hand the LPL their first loss.
Huge roar from the crowd here. Ucal flummoxed EDG by flashing back in with his taunt. They took down the couple of members. They take down the Nexus. Worlds is not won in the first round robin, but KT win the hearts of their Busan fans. They will go in 3-0. They are the big hope of Korea.
If you buy into the narrative that the LCK is in trouble, that the only hope is KT Rolster, reminder that there is only one team that hoists the Summoners Cup. And KT Rolster are looking at that cup right now.
And they are looking good, stepping out to bow before the crowd. They had control of this game since minute 1.
I cast their final game in 2017 where it was Samsung Galaxy knocking them out of Worlds qualification, and I said in that game, I don't think we will see the same 5 players ever play again. They sacrificed a lot to come together. All these players, household names of competitive League of Legends, but they did it to win. They did it for a stage like this. They made their big debut. The first round robin has been very kind to them. But they first still need to qualify. Everyone checks themselves with KT Rolster.
Well, yeah, I mean, the group was kind to them. They were not kind to the group. KT Rolster wrecked their group. They are 3-0, and today was the last day of the first round robin. For more on how it all unfolded, here's World's Countdown.
It's cooldown.
Thank you very much, Quick Shot. Welcome to the World's Cooldown. KT handing the LPL their very first loss of the tournament, and in front of the home crowd, you heard the roar of the stadium there as they stepped out to take their bow after that victory, moving to 3-0.
It's got to feel incredible having like the hopes and dreams of the whole nation on you guys, and then being able to go and prove
actually
that
execute on it.
So like you have your faith in the right people, and then be able to kind of really destroy EDG, I'd say.
Yeah, it felt like Edward Gaming finally fell off the expectations of LPL, hit reality, and reminded everyone that, hey, you know, we just barely qualified in the World Championship. We won 2 best-of-5s. We got here. We are the 3rd seed. And KT were like, ah, yes, time to play with our food, because that's exactly what it looked like.
Play with our food is one way to put it. I want to dive into some of the nuance of this game, because there were some really cool kind of micro things happening very early on for KT.
Yeah, there's a thing in fighting game terms you hear a lot called conditioning. It's when you do the same thing over and over again to set up something that's going to happen later. And here, Mata, level 1, just goes absolutely crazy with these headbutts into the wall time and time again, just constantly trading, and it forces the enemy team to trade back on you. It doesn't give them a chance to go for a ward, and it really gets them in this aggressive mindset. So you finally do it again as you've been posturing up in lane this entire time. You're so used to him being postured up that like the one time the jungler is coming behind him, you're not ready for it.
Oh, here comes the Alistar. He's just going to headbutt smack me in the face again, but fine, we'll trade back. Oh, this time there's a Zhao, now I'm dead.
Yeah, and it's hard to know how much of that was pre-planned, but like, you know, Score is pathing down there, and Mata's doing this from level 1, and it kind of felt really like they were like, hey, we're just going to fight like crazy, and if they're not respecting like that Xin can come bot lane, like there's going to be a gank here, because they're not going to get a chance to ward.
Without a doubt. Let's roll forward to one other play, KT's tower dive. We pull this one up on your screens here and roll through it.
And this is just beautifully orchestrated. And what I love about this is that KT recognizing where they are strongest and where Edward Gaming are strongest to make them now their weakest. You know, EDG have always been about their bottom lane, and KT just orchestrated beautifully, have the 4-man dive very early on, and just immediately put EDG in the hole in kind of their one primary win point that they constantly play around on the map.
It just felt bad. iBoy does a nice buffer out of the Alistar headbutt pulve combo to get out of there. It's Tristana. It's like, oh, there's an Urgot, and it's just waiting for me. So I think you can see EDG is still a great team, but after that play, it kind of felt like they conceded, like, okay, KT, you're really, really good. We're going to back off and contesting you and hope that you, like, throw somehow, and KT just never made a mistake, really.
It was basically like, yes, Mr. KT, right after you, Mr. KT, you can have this, Mr. KT, everything. They just hid in their base.
I mean, it's tough, right? I mean, you see that many plays go right for the other team, that many plays go wrong for you, and maybe things that you didn't predict. It really can start to wear on your conscience and just assuming that the other team has your number.
But they should know better. You know, looking at this from a perspective of, you know, we expect that this is heavy favorites to KT. They look so clean and dominant. But what the hell are Edward Gaming thinking when they continuously are picking Nocturne? A, playing Clearlove. That makes sense. You want your shot calling issues to be shored up. That's why they bring him into the roster. He's the guy with the most veteran experience. It's a very intense game, so there's going to be pressure there for your new jungler in Haro. But putting him on Nocturne, he's never been known for Nocturne. You know that KT are a team that like to play hyper-aggressive early, so you put yourself into a jungler that can't do anything pre-level 6. You then have a Tristana and Azir. I just think the game plan from the very beginning was quite confusing and just a really bad read. Like you were ever going to survive the first 15 minutes in the ring with KT.
And I think I would love to hear your opinion on this because to me it felt like, okay, watching that game, they had the mechanics to mostly keep up, but like the coordinated aggression is what's really crazy. And I think, do you think Haro would have been a better player to put in there because he is a little bit more...
He's willing to match aggression with aggression?
Yeah, I think it feels to me like that. I mean, I know Clearlove can play, pre-6 junglers as well, but when I watched the gauntlet or the qualification for EDG, it did feel like Haro was such a huge part in that.
It's kind of like what you give and take. So Haro does mean that you're going to have much more pressure around the mid lane for Scout, that you're going to camp the lane. If your idea is that, okay, EDG, they like to play around bottom lane, but Scout truly is the real carry, like he's the guy who's individually overperforming, then you go that route. But right now, post 20 minutes, Edward Gaming have no idea what they're doing. They're constantly making terrible map reads, particularly around the Baron, which is why in the regular split, they started bringing Clearlove back in. So you look at their draft, the Azir scaling, the Tristana scaling, you look at the fact that they're starting Clearlove, it tells me that EDG were thinking, survive lane phase, we'll shore up our shot calling, we'll get to the team fighting state. And again, I agree if that was like
didn't happen.
What they wanted, they set themselves up for it, but I think it was just a bad plan before they even got into it.
Right, because we saw the dominance of Scout's Azir just the other day, right? We know that this guy's no slouch on the champion, but if you don't give him the opportunity to get to that point where he can be dominant, then it's all for naught. For more, though, on how they top Group C, let's send it over to Shox and the victorious spot laner.
With Deft after KT secures first place in the group. This was a decisive yet a bit of a slower game. Deft, what were the challenges in taking down your ex-team EDG?
네, 우선 승리 정말 축하드리고 1위를 확정하셨어요. 근데 오늘 조금 느리게 경기를 굴렸는데 어떤 식으로 경기를 준비하고 어느 점이 어려웠는지 궁금합니다.
일단 저희가 1픽으로 이제 자야를 가져왔기 때문에 원거리 딜러 면에서는 캐리력이 가장 높다고 생각해서 초반에 이제 저를 잘 키운 상태에서 실수만 안 한다면은 저희가 무조건 이긴다고 생각하고 경기를 했던 것 같아요.
So we first picked Xayah, and I think it's the most strongest champion so far. So I think if I just get scaled enough and don't make any mistake, I knew that we were gonna win.
And you guys did. This is also the first LPL team to drop a game. And besides taking down your ex-team, that is also a big honor. Is it important to you to have been the first team to deal that loss to the LPL region?
그러면 오늘 드디어 LPL의 전승을 끄는 팀이 됐는데 친정팀을 끄는 것만 이상으로도 의미를 갖고 있는데 그런 게 어떤 의미를 갖고 있을까요?
뭐 딱히 어떤 의미는 없는 것 같은데 일단 경기 시작하기 전에 지게 되면은 이제 EDG 선수들이 뭔가 저한테 와서 악수하는 게 머릿속으로 그려졌는데 그건 정말 싫은 것 같아서 정말 이겨야겠다고 생각하고 경기했던 것 같아요.
So it actually doesn't really have a big meaning for me, but before games, if I lose, I imagine EDG players coming for a handshake, and I felt like this is a nightmare, so I really wanted to get the win.
Oh, there we go. Now, of course, this team is not just built for winning in the group stages. This is the super team built to win the World Championship. How far do you think you're off from your best performance that will be needed to win the cup?
네, 사실 KT 롤스터는 그룹 스테이지뿐만 아니라 거의 롤드컵 우승을 정말 노린 슈퍼팀이잖아요. 그러면 지금 총 최고 전력에서 몇 퍼센트 정도 나온 것 같은가요?
저희 팀 전력 같은 경우는 이제 팀 플레이 같은 경우에는 지금 굉장히 잘 나오고 있는 것 같은데 제 개인적인 이제 뭐 개인 기량은 아직 많이 부족한 것 같아서 네, 좀 많이 끌어올려야 될 것 같아요.
So in terms of team play, I think we are almost close to the perfection, but my own performance is not as perfect as I expected, so I think I have to practice more.
Something to work on. Finally, a bit more of a funnier question, I think. A couple of years ago, we remember seeing a video from you and Reckless. We know that you guys changed your names in-game. You were EDG, Reckless, and so on. And as fans, we would really love to know what the status of that friendship is.
네, 좀 더 이제 가벼운 질문으로 넘어가자면 사실 레클레스 선수의 우정이 되게 화제잖아요, 언제나. 옛날에는 아이디도 바꿔서 플레이한 적 있는데 지금 그 우정의 상태는 어느 정도인가요?
이제 제가 이제 롤드컵에 왔을 때는 이제 레클리 선수가 못 나오고 또 레클리 선수가 나왔을 때는 제가 못 나오는 경우가 막 생겨서 이제 예전만큼은 연락을 자주 하진 못했지만 그래도 간간히 연락하는 사이인 것 같아요.
So recently when I was at Worlds, he wasn't there, and when I were not there, he was there, so we can't really keep in touch as we did before, but we're trying to keep in touch as much as we can.
Okay, rekindling the friendship. Awesome. Thank you very much, Deft. Fantastic job so far. Thank you, Yusun, for helping us all day. Back over to you guys.
Thank you very much, Shocks. Great to hear from Deft as he makes his way back to the world stage and continues dominant performances now at 3-0. At the conclusion of the first round robin, though, we've got to take a look at who went above and beyond today to earn themselves MasterCard Player of the Game. In Game 6, Mata earned the honor alongside Flashful's Mowgli, G2's Wonder, IG's Baolan, Fnatic's Broxa, and Team Liquid's Xmithy.
There's a lot of junglers on the list today. In fact, we almost had another jungler. I know we were going back and forth between Mata and Score, but we felt like Mata was just a little bit more keen on setting up those fights, setting up the level 1.
Yeah, and 3 Western.
Yeah, let's go, we got the win, right?
Let's
we got the wins today.
And Wonder.
Yeah, what do we have here? We got 3 jungles, 2 supports, and a top lane.
And I do really want to grab Wonder because he's the only top laner on the list right now, and I just feel like consistently, you know, when you talk to a lot of like Deficio and Vete, they're like, yeah, Wonder's not even the best top laner in Europe, and then he shows up and he's just smacking kids.
It's so funny because like they were saying, you know, back in Europe, he was like not performing that well, and then like through play-ins, I was like, he's the best Western top. Like, he should be, looks like, is he supposed to be on your top 20 list or not? And then he comes here, and he's by far the most important part of their win condition. He's been performing every single game.
I was going to say, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, he's the pressure valve that they're playing on. I think that's like the really key thing is that it's one thing if G2 kept playing the 1-3-1 and like, you know, it was Perks that was backdooring this time, but that's twice now on Wonder being the guy who's like taking the inhib, matching the solo kill, going toe-to-toe.
And I think that's very cool in a tournament where we've talked about there being a lot of strong top laners. Of course, you know, you're looking at people like Keen, even someday on 100 Thieves, you're looking, you know, that kind of top lane prowess to then watch this guy rise up and make a statement. There's going to be a lot of talk if they make it to the knockout stage about how he matches up and could be a difference maker for G2 in an entire best of 5. With the first round robin complete, though, let's take a look at the group standings. In Group A, G2's huge win pushed them to 2-1. As a result, now share first with the Flash Wolves. Group B has Royal Never Give Up dominating with a 3-way tie for second between Cloud9, Gen.G, and Team Vitality behind them. Over in Group C, KT Rolster remain undefeated with EDG looking to maintain second when the teams return. And finally, Group D has Invictus Gaming undefeated in first with Fnatic holding second at 2-1. Impressions of these groups now that we have completed the first round robin?
I mean, it feels like the LPL dominance continues. The fact that you still have RNG and Invictus Gaming, they're starting to make what it feels like a breakaway. I mean, depending on how you view the Fnatic versus IG game, and if you view it as a close game, if you view it as a not close game, and that was just kind of the ultimate outcome that was going to happen, it feels like there's kind of like that tier, KT's in that tier, and then just a very large gap in everyone else.
I want to hop on that point because while we've talked about the LPL as compared to the struggles of the LCK, I think it is now important for us to delineate and or separate KT from the struggles of the LCK. They are looking very strong.
And that's what's kind of crazy is because like this is the best LPL has ever looked. I think it's the first time ever at the halfway point they've had a better record than LCK. I'd have to double check that, but what's going to be really disappointing for the region is if, like, through all of this, it ends with KT holding the trophy, and then I think a lot of this will kind of get forgotten a little bit. The fact that I would say they are the stronger region as a whole.
They definitely appear so.
Yeah, as they're clearly showing, it just feels like KT is so good looking right now. Like, I do think they look a little bit better than RNG, and I just hope that we don't lose this perspective in 2 or 3 more weeks when the tournament's wrapping up.
Right, at the moment, I'm just praying if KT, RNG end up 1 seeds out of both their groups, just get them on opposite sides of the bracket, man. Let me see those 2 teams try and make a run to the finals to play against each other. And while we talk about groups, I do want to go back to Group A for just a moment because this has become a very interesting group based on results through the first round robin.
Right, Group B, you have 3 teams at 1 and 2, but it does still feel like Gen.G is going to turn it around, whereas I'm not as confident in Africa. It did not look super impressive today. G2 looked really good, and then you look at who they have to go through again.
And they beat the team that they're tied with, right? G2 beat Flash Wolves, so that definitely makes that race interesting.
Right, there's that race for first, as well as, like, okay, even if Flash Wolves goes 3-0, like, you know, and G2 has to beat the other 2 teams, I think that they're actually looking very good to do that. So I think this is really, really close group, and it's just basically about, can Afrika find the form that they had when they were at their best, or does G2's split pushing style continue to baffle them?
It's like trying to assemble who are the dark horses. If we think that it's just like this rocket of KT and RNG like on a crash course, it's then okay, you probably grab Fnatic as your dark horse. We would have had, you know, Flash Wolves when they started this week, and now G2 with their continuous like clean macro performance, now suddenly, you know, for me, I think they need to pick up one more win just because it's just been so inconsistent, specifically between Jankos' performance. Like, I need to see him really solidify himself, not just the wonder show. And then I'm like, okay, G2 are here to play. They are now a dark horse.
It is tough to pick out who will disrupt those very dominant runs, though, as you mentioned. From now on, though, in Busan, we get one group a day as they will complete all of their second round robin games and any tiebreakers in that given day. Tomorrow, Group B returns to the Rift with Vitality squaring off against Royal Never Give Up. Then Gen G aim to take down Cloud9 before the last 4 games of the group.
And speaking of other dark horse, you said it yourself, we keep expecting Gen G to come back to life, and I don't know if that's that little voice saying like, it's the LCK team, former world champion, they can do it.
Exactly what that voice is. That's exactly the reason.
We have seen them get better, but I'm like curious. I almost need to go back to the footage and just really look at Gen G and say, you know, are they actually getting better? Is this team going to be as scary as we expected? Because we're like, the meta seems to be going towards the 5v5, you know, maybe they're getting stronger, but as the games get faster, I'm like, you know, Gen G have never really been a fast-paced team.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the game versus RNG, they weren't able to close it out in time, and eventually RNG found the one fight that ended it, and then against C9, it was actually relatively back and forth with C9 largely being the aggressors in the mid ganks that kept coming in, not really finding kills, and then they finally do one mid gank that is just like, and then like, and then the game's over again.
Do that again.
Yeah. Anyways, I think it's the kind of thing where Gen G does have this bit of a concern where if Vitality keeps playing super aggressive, which we haven't talked about yet, by the way, one of my favorite teams to watch this entire world so far. If they play aggressive, C9 continues to play aggressive, they can sneak wins off Gen G very realistically.
That to me is what's telling. It's just the you mentioned pace of game. So aggression, which feeds into pace of game, is kind of what's contributing to the more unknown factor for me about where these games are going to fall.
What's so hilarious to me is that I don't think we're the only ones. I think when people hear Vitality, they think like super fast, very bloody, hyper aggressive. But if you look at Vitality's average game times, they're actually really long. Them and Afrika shoved the average game time up like massively because they did have that one stalled out game.
Would you attribute that to bloodiness and because skirmishes end up as not like aces, 5-0 trades, that they're still trading gold evenly and extending games? Or where does that game time come from?
I have an interesting theory. I'm not convinced it's right, but like, it's the kind of thing, some people were saying, you know, like Korea thinks about the game as like taking turns, and they say like Vitality is like, we're going to take 3 turns in a row right now. Not only do they do that.
All of this is
yeah, they're like, we're just going to keep going actually. And then they often do it in situations that like you're not fighting over a specific objective, which is how a lot of the Eastern teams play. Where it's
so
like,
even if you get a win, what do you get after that?
You're not snowballing as fast because it's like, all right, well, we got a 3-4-0 around mid with no real neutral objectives we can take afterwards. I feel like you see that a lot with them, which does a great job of keeping the teams unprepared because you're like, why are you fighting me here? But they also don't always snowball with that as much, I think.
I feel like Vitality are just a team that go hard in the paint. It's this idea of like the individual performers. You know, if you think about, if you try to separate the game, and this is a very simplified way to look at it in terms of like higher level macro play and making plays on this macro level as like a unified team, which is kind of where I put like G2 right now, versus then someone like Vitality who's about the individual performers, the individual decision making. Juzuke saying, I think I've got an in, I'm gonna go for the dive, and as he's doing it, his team's like, what? Like, and no one else seems to be reacting to it. And sometimes you do get those beautiful moments where everyone on Vitality is moving in the same direction, but a lot of it is, you know, these individual pieces that just keep going, and it's very hard to play against a team like that when everything's on fire on the map.
And I'm just wildly pumped that we get to start the final days of each of these groups with this one. That, you know, where you've got kind of the front runner and then the 3 teams tied behind that, because it is going to be a very exciting, tense, and pressure-full day to see who makes it out. That is going to do it for us here, though, for day 4 of the group stages. Now, for myself, the casters, and the entire live broadcast crew, thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow for more Worlds 2018.
The only thing that's holding us back is our ability to execute. Once we fix that, we'll be good.
I'm going bounce side. Top to the flash. Top to the flash. Hey, Talia. Bounce. I'm looking Baron. Baron's dead. Xayah, no play. Back up to mid.
Triple knockup into impact triple taunt. Mad Team overstepped their bounds here, and Team Liquid with the huge punish.
I'll be demanding when I say, pick me Ornn!
When Spirit's Refuge comes down, that's a two-man knockup! Empties the first target, he flashes the wall, Caps comes chasing, trying to run him down. Sonic Wave, if it finds the target!
You don't need to flash by the way. What the fuck?
No, I'm gonna target.
Stop. Yeah, I can stop. W. It's only Zhao. We can. Woohoo! Holy shit, Wunder! Oh, please, Wunder. Nice!
Keen in some trouble absorbing all the damage here. First disarm goes through. Melodius has able to find himself the kill onto Keen now as he tries to get himself away, but the follow-up is there. The Freaks now sit in a spot where they're 7,000 gold up. Their top laner's now looking for blood 1v1, and he's found it. This is the Keen people wanted to see. A Freaka find their first win.
I'm nothing.
I'm level 2.
Okay.
Go Xayah.
Yeah, go Xayah.
Passive.
Run up.
Nice.
And it will likely have dire consequences yet again. Balon's going fishing and Econ, 2 big ones.
The LPL remains undefeated in the tournament, and so I kind of want to continue the conversation around how we beat this region.
We've got junglers joining.
There is a flash available for iBoy, but he needs to use it quickly. The dash forward, first blood to KT Rolster.
끝까지 온다.
Rakan. Going gold in the middle of the fight. Disdain catches onto Ray. He runs for his life, but look at the fear beyond death. Mata goes in and is shot right back out. Oh! Nexus turret goes down, but look at the engage. Ucal finds Edward Gaming. KT Rolster will turn their attention to the Nexus, go undefeated, and hand the LPL their first loss.